I've been talking to you about a police tool called Stingray for a long time. Back in December of 2014, I told you that we learned police were using this technology to eavesdrop on Eric Garner protesters. Eric Garner was the man killed by police in New York when selling untaxed cigarettes. And back in September, I told you that 2,000 cases were at risk of being overturned because police used this technology. This is the technology that creates what are called cell site simulators. They look like cell phone towers to cell phones. So the cell phones will transmit pings back to the Stingray devices, which let law enforcement track a phone's location with no warrant. The ACLU has been involved in a lot of these cases. And the big news, and this is really, really big, for the first time, a federal judge has thrown out evidence obtained without a warrant by U.S. law enforcement with Stingray technology. This is U.S. District Judge William Pauley in Manhattan, ruling that defendant Raymond Lambis's rights were violated when the DEA used the Stingray device without a warrant, saying it is effectively unreasonable search and seizure. This is hugely important because of the precedent that it sets. It's something, there's this thing called parallel construction, which can make it more difficult to suppress evidence like this. And the way parallel construction works in law enforcement is you might be using warrantless surveillance to build a case in reality, but simultaneously, you'll create a parallel storyline of how you're finding things out, and you can hide sources and confidential informants, etc. And this is a way that this unreasonable search, such as a warrantless surveillance device, can be used, and then you never find out about it in a court of law because there's been this other shadow parallel investigation that was taking place, which didn't actually turn up anything. This is really, really big, Lewis, because of the precedent that it sets. We aren't against finding bad guys. What we are against is having these ambiguous ways in which law enforcement can just play rather than by established rules, by sort of whatever they think will help them in fishing expeditions.
Certainly, if you have a warrant for using this technology, whatever, it's a wonderful, wonderful tool. And this is just one of many pieces of technology, being used by police in questionable ways and possibly illegal ways. So you're right, huge precedent, and I hope that that other judges around the country will follow suit here.
Good news, right, Rachel? I mean, some people will say, oh, well, you're making it more difficult to catch bad guys. Well, hold on. We need to have rules for how we go about investigations.
Well, is this going to change kind of the course of action where they had originally said, okay, we're going to have these policies, but they're not going to apply to local law enforcement? So is it effectively changing that, or is this a specific case?
Yeah, well, that's the other issue, right? Which is we have this patchwork of various laws. We have federal courts, we have state courts, we have different rules as far as what is allowed and what isn't. If this becomes a broader constitutional issue, Lewis, then it will be a blanket ruling.
Yes, from the federal level, and we'll see. I don't know.